They say the night has many roads, but only one of them never ends. On that road, under a moon that refused to set, a new bride rode behind a stranger whose shadow would not stay put. Sometimes he stretched the wrong way, sometimes he did not exist, and every time Ewatomi blinked, the stars seemed to shuffle, as if making room for the man she had chosen in a rush of breathless awe. Her hands, heavy with coral and gold from 100 suitors she had scorned, trembled on the horse's back. She had begged for a match to her beauty, and the world had sent this one. Now the path did not end, the night would not soften, and the wind kept whispering her name as if warning her. Ewatomi, Iwoluwa Kotoiwa. Beauty without character is not enough. Ewatomi had been born as if the sun had signed its name across her face. Ewatimi, my beauty is mine, her grandmother had teased when the child's name was first spoken. By the time Ewatomi became a young woman, the name fit like a crown. People traveled from other towns just to see her fetch water. Traders planned their routes to pass her gate. Mothers pinched their sons' arms and whispered, walk straight, who knows? Gifts piled up at her parents' store, kola and yam, woven clothes, and carved stools. Even a cow led by a prince who shrugged off the heat as if his title were a shade. Ewatomi accepted the gaze of the world as a kind of worship, and soon she mistook worship for work. The boys of her village came first, with hands calloused and hearts honest. She laughed and told them to wash their faces until they learned to shine. They shuffled away with ears burning, yet returned with palm wine and promises. She called them goats and sent them home to chew humility. Men from far off lands arrived next, warriors with polished anklets, traders with the smell of sea salt in their clothes, scholars whose words were oiled and ready. Ewatomi walked them like a queen, walks through rain untouched. You did not match me, she would say. Look at me, then look at you. We are not the same. The more she dismissed them, the more they gathered, as if her pride were a drum they could not help but dance to. Her parents warned her, gently at first, daughter, beauty is a drummer. It can set your feet moving where you did not plan to go. Ewatomi smiled and said, let it drum then. I like the music. It was after one particular cruel afternoon, when she had told a humble carpenter to use his eyes to measure himself and find he did not reach her ankle, that the story turned. The stranger entered the market, and the market forgot its bargains. He was the kind of handsome that pulled the life tight around him. Not a blemish, not a misstep, not a single stitch out of place. Where others wore their finery and hoped to be blessed by it, he wore the world as if it had been made to flatter him. Children parted without knowing why. The kola nut cracked in the seller's hand and fell silently to the ground. He asked no one for directions. Yet he found Ewatomi's face as if he had been following it across distances. I have heard of you, he said, voice like cool water. I have come to see if stories are lazy or simply untrained. Ewatomi, who had sent princes home hungry, forgot how to breathe for a heartbeat. The world narrowed to the line of his jaw, the calm in his eyes, the way he made the sun behave like his servant. She did not ask his name. She did not ask his lineage. She did not ask which road knew his feet. I will marry you, she said. The words leaped out of her mouth before wisdom could tie them down. Her parents frowned. The village murmured, but Ewatomi's certainty was a fresh cut path, and the wedding walked itself. Drums spoke, Hawaiian lit throats, laughter hung from doorways, and before the moon had its full say, Ewatomi climbed onto the stranger's horse. bracelet singing, head high. Where is your home? Her mother asked softly, last chance low in her voice. You will know when the road teaches you, the stranger replied, smiling without showing it. They rode. At first, the journey felt like a story being told correctly. The closest farms, then the wild airs, then the tall Iroko trees where spirits listen. But as the night wore on, the wrongness settled like fine dust. The crickets paused in unison and forgot to resume. The road curved back on itself like a frightened animal but returned then to the same stubborn horizon. When they passed a stream, the water flowed in the direction opposite its song. Ewatomi glanced at her husband today. The light from the moon fastened itself to his cheekbone and would not let go. She looked down for his shadow and found it behind a termite mound, crouched like a boy hiding from chores. The next time she checked, she saw two shadows, each slightly out of step. The third time, none. Is something wrong? She asked lightly, the way one prods a sleeping snake with a broom straw. Curiosity is a poor traveler, he said. Let silence ride with us. She swallowed her questions. Pride is stubborn. Even fear must flee behind it. They reached a wide river that had not been there before. The stranger dismounted and drank from a calabash he pulled from nowhere. The liquid inside gleamed like starlight sifted through a sieve. When Ewatomi knelt to drink at the bank, her reflection came in twos. One face was hers, the face she had learned to use like a weapon. The other was her, as if the world had remembered something she had forgotten. Eyes less sharp, mouth less sure, something gentle uncovered. She touched the water, the reflection blurred, merged, separated again. The stranger's image did not appear at all. Where he should have been, the river offered only a bright emptiness, a hole in the night. Her stomach turned. Regret, sharp and new, prickled her pride like a thorn. She thought of the boys she had laughed at, the men she had dismissed like flies, the carpenter who had left the market with a face like a closed door. The road was teaching her, and the lesson had teeth. They rode on. A palm wine tapper beside a leaning tree looked up at them with eyes tired as evening. Bride, he called softly. Your wrapper has caught a thorn. Ewatomi would once have thrown words like pebbles. Mind your business, old man. Now she looked down and saw the tear. She climbed up and knelt, palms in the dust, and freed the clothes. The tapper smiled. Humility is red, he said, handing her a small string of cowries. When pride tears what is fine, use this. Later, a young man stood in the path, watching a calabash with both hands. He looked about 18 or 19, with dust on his feet and shame in his eyes. Sister, he said, voice low, my mother asked me to fetch leaves for her medicine, but the branches are too high for me to reach. Ewatomi, whose previous laughter had cut men down, set down her bangles and reached. She plucked the sheer leaves gently, laid them in his calabash, and pressed the lid close so none would fall. The young man bowed deeply, relief softening his face. He pressed a kola nut into her palm. For choice, he whispered, when you must decide which mouth to feed, your pride or your heart. As Dawn should have been thinking of its entrance, but did not. A blind woman sat cross-legged by the road, reading a mat. Bride, she said, without turning her face, tell me, does your husband wear the day honestly? Iwatomi's mouth opened, then closed. My husband is handsome, she managed. That is not the cloth I asked you to describe. The woman said. She reached out, found Ewatomi's wrist with the accuracy of old wisdom, and tied something cool around it, a thin ring of beaten brass. For truth, the woman said, it warms when the road lies to you, and when you lie to yourself. The ring paused. Ewatomi turned in her saddle. Who are you? She asked the stranger, the words shaking. The jar of silence finally dropped. He smiled at last and let his teeth show. They were perfect. They were also slightly too many. I am the one who is always invited by those who worship mirrors, he said. When a person bows to their own reflection long enough, my road finds theirs. Call me what your people will, Okondegun Oju, the many-eyed. Call me the keeper of borrowed faces. I am the master of the market that sells itself to the self. I have come for what you loudly claimed was yours. My beauty? Ewatomi whispered, the ring hot at her wrist, and then cold, and then hot again. Your face, he said with gentle cruelty, the one you use as a whip. I will hang it in my hall with the other faces that mistook admiration for breath. You will remain, of course. I am not a butcher, I am a collector. He raised his hand, and the road obeyed him like a trained dog. Trees bent to applaud. The horizon rolled back like a mat. Far away, Watomi saw a palace that was not built so much as assembled from reflections. Its pillars were mirrors, its walls were mirrors, its roof was the underside of a leaf. Faces hung without within faces, and lovely as festival lamps, smiling the smiles of people who cannot stop because they are afraid of what their mouths might do if they rest. Ewatomi's body remembered how to shiver. Regret bloomed fully now. Not the shallow kind that wants to be comforted, but the deep kind that wants to repair. Please, she said, and the word surprised her with its power. Please, I have wronged many. I have used what I did not create as if I had forged it. I am sorry. The many-eyed shrugged. Apologies are maths. Everyone stands on them when rain threatens. At cries, vows, and acts. Ewatomi remembered the gifts, cowries for mending pride's hair, leaves for medicine, cola for choice, a brass ring for truth. She tied the cowries at her waist. She crossed the sheer leaves and stained her cheeks, dulling the glow she had guarded like treasure. She split the kola nut and placed the bitter half on her tongue. Then she stood, wrist bare of bangles, head uncovered, mouth steady, and turned to the river they had crossed. Mother of the water, she called, unsure if the river had a mother willing to listen to a woman like her. Ya Odo, hear me. If the road has rules, so does grace. I am asking for a rule in my favor. Give me a task. If I complete it, let me go home. The river's surface trembled. From the tremor rose a figure with the calm of old channels and the strength of flood season. Not quite woman, not quite river, exactly both. Name three people you lowered with your tongue. The river mother said, voice the color of deep water. Name what you did to them and say how you will lift them with your hand. Ewatomi's throat tightened. Truth warmed the ring to near pain. The carpenter, she said first, seeing his careful fingers, the respect with which he touched wood. I called him small. I will commission a bench from him and pay twice the price, and I will sit on it in the market and praise his work where all can hear. The young man with dust on his feet, she said next, remembering his bowed head after her help. I once would have mocked his weakness. I will buy him sandals that honor his feet, and I will ask him to teach me the work of gathering, so others will respect his skills. The widow who sells peppers, she said last, feeling it on her own cheeks. I told her the salt in her soup was her tears and sent her away. I will stock her stall for a month and stand with her to sell. So my presence undoes what my words did. The river mother considered, you will fail if you rely on guilt. It is a poor fuel. Use gratitude instead. You were given a faith. Now use it to face others gently. The water parted, revealing a narrow crossing of stones that had not been there. Go. The many-eyed stepped forward, smile feigning. She is mine, he said softly. The contract is signed in every mirror she had ever loved. Water preceded mirrors, the river mother replied, and truth precedes both. Ewatomi stepped on the stones, each one cooling beneath her bare feet. The many-eyed reached, the ring scorched, the river swelled. His fingers met their own reflection. and recoiled as if stung. He hissed, the sound like glass being taught manners. "Do you think you can leave flame?" he asked. Last cruelty flicked like ash. "Do you think memory will not itch? Pride is a serpent that uncoils when you sleep." Ewatomi paused on the last stone. "I know," she said. "I will keep a broom by my bed." She crossed. Morning, which had been delayed like a debtor, rushed in as if embarrassed. Birds found their rehearsed tongues. The road remembered where it ended and did so. Ewatomi walked into her village without bangles, face stained with leaves, eyes steady. Children stared, women whispered, men who had courted her once stood very still, as if movement might scare away this version of her that did not float above the ground. She did not sing her repentance, she walked it. She bought wood, smiled at the carpenter without teeth, and paid him with money and with praise. She knelt by the pepper seller's store and sold until her voice crashed, then returned the next day with redder clothes for shade. She found the young man again, listened to him, and joined his work until laughter returned honestly to her mouth. When people told each other the tale later, they argued about the details as people do. Some said the stranger had hooves that hid with expensive boots. Others swore he ate star seeds, and the shells of those seeds were comets. A few claimed he still visits the market, standing behind women when they lift mirrors and asking them politely, always politely, if they are prepared to pay the price of worship. Ewatomi kept no mirrors for a year. When she finally allowed one into her room, she covered it with a cloth, except when she needed to tidy herself for work. On the cloth she embroidered a single proverb in small neat stitches: Iwalewa, character is beauty. Suitors returned slowly, cautiously, many to apologize as well for treating her like a prize goat. Those months she thanked them for the truth of their new eyes, then asked hard questions she would never have bothered with before. What do you do when they disrespect you? How do you speak to people who cannot answer you back? When last did you change your mind before someone lower than you thought do something? Years later, if you like happy endings, she chose a partner whose hands knew both plans and poems, whose shadows behaved, whose pride bowed to smallness with ease. They sat on the carpenter's bench in the market sometimes, watching the world pass, and Ewatomi would greet each passerby by name if she knew, and with respect if she did not. As for the many eyed, the market says his hall of faces lost one lamp that night and has been dimmer ever since. Some say he lingers more near still water, peering in, wondering why he never sees himself, trying to learn from the river what it means to reflect without devouring. And if you ever find yourself on a road that refuses to end, with a companion whose beauty keeps the dawn from doing its duty, remember this: mirrors are loud, rivers are wide. Ask water what you truly look like, then go home and repair what your pride has broken. True beauty is character. The face is only its messenger. Ask questions before you pledge your life, and let humility be the clothes you will never travel without.